Welcome to the Soul Tribe Podcast. The Soul Tribe Podcast was created to help you navigate through the world of spirituality, wellness, and self-development in an easy, grounded, and relatable way. We break down everything from the Akashic Records, manifesting, spirituality, and so much more. We want to help expand your boundaries and bring the spiritual world to you in a fun and easy way. Get ready to be inspired with tips, tools, and easy to digest information. Let's do this. Hi, Soul Tribers. Today is a very exciting episode. Today's episode is with Christos and Foster. Now, there's two reasons why we decided to get them on the podcast again. First of all, we got a few emails from Soul Tribe podcasters asking to have Christos and Foster back on. And at the same time, due to the circumstances of what we're all going through and living through right now, Lorena and I also thought it was a really good idea to have them on to give us more of their wisdom, to teach us more about their perspective, and hopefully get tips and tricks and advice, which we do end up getting that in the episode. So those are the reasons why we decided to have them on. We also had questions from you guys that were emailed to us or messaged to us via Insta or Facebook. So we had those questions. We previously sent them to Christos and Foster, so they respond those questions during the interview. We don't really ask them directly, but they're referenced to by them because they already were aware of the questions that we had for the interview. So thank you for sending in those questions, guys. We really appreciate it, and we appreciate you guys asking for them, to be back on. We like knowing, what kind of guests you want on. We like helping you guys and giving you insight, and we enjoy, opening up to a more awakened life, and that means sometimes having certain guests on. That's good for us, and that's good for you guys. So keep the requests coming. We're open to all requests. And so today's episode is amazing. You might have to listen to it more than once. I have already listened to it more than once. There's a lot of really good advice and perspectives that is worth listening to and paying attention to. This episode's a little long, so just try to absorb it one portion at a time, because it's a lot to listen to and understand. But we're so thankful to Christos and Foster for taking their own time to talk to us and to talk to you guys. It was amazing to have them and listen to what they have to say for the episode, and to hear about what are their views and their thoughts about what's going on right now and what possibly might happen, in the future, near future. So enjoy the episode. Oh, and also we wanted to let you guys know, if you listen to our podcast episodes previously, you've heard us talk about the Healy device, which is a resonance device. I've talked about it because I have one and I use it on me, and it has a bunch of programs. It works with your frequency, your body, and your spiritual frequency also. It's helped me a lot stay healthy, and it's actually launching in the United States on the 1st of May. Lorena and I have been waiting because there's a bunch of people we know that could use it in especially now with health issues, in the States. So if you guys are interested or want to know more about it, want to understand it better, reach out to me or Lorena, whichever way. It can be the contact form on our website, or you can DM us on Facebook, Instagram, or our personal Instagrams. We're really excited for United States to try it out, for you guys to, see what it's like. I have only good things to say about it. It's helped me stay healthy, and especially now through an emotional, difficult time. So we'll also leave a link in the bio of this episode, so you guys can click it and look at the device itself and get some information from the website directly. But don't be afraid to reach out and ask Lorena and I more questions if you're interested or want to know more. Again, thank you to Fosters and Christos for every moment of that interview. We just we feel lucky that we were able to have them on, not once, but now twice on the episode. They're amazing individuals that are doing really good work. And at the end of the day, what matters is the intention of what you do. And that's why we love them, because their intention is, you can tell their intention is really to, to help and to awaken people and to try to get them aligned again. So enjoy the episode and take it all in. Thank you guys for joining us today. Like we got so much amazing feedback when you guys came on. What was it? 2 months ago? 3 months ago?
It was.
I don't know.
A little longer.
Yeah, maybe.
I think it was August.
First time we were in Argentina.
Yes, you were in Argentina. Yeah, and everybody loved the episode, and we got a lot of people emailing us asking if you guys could come back on and talk. So I thought this was a perfect time with everything everybody's going through. And everybody wants to know what you guys have to say about it.
Yeah. So maybe we can start with that. Like, first of all, like, how are you guys doing with everything that's going on? I think everybody's had to change the way they work. So especially you guys traveled so much before, right?
Absolutely. I mean, for me, this is a break time.
Okay.
2020 was always the turning point in shamanism. Either the world gets better or it goes down. And this was the decisive year. So everything had to stop. Everybody had to reevaluate themselves. Some people call it the blackening. Some people call it a blackout. Some people call it a reset. But coronavirus allowed it to happen. We all had to come to a standstill and decide, what choices are we going to make? Are we going to go towards nature, towards ecology, towards plants, towards spiritual understanding, cooperation, universality, and a heart opening, right? The way of the condor, as all the prophecies said. Or we're going to stay in the way of the eagle, which is always going to be mental, always going to be, survival of the fittest,
Yep.
having to be the best, having to only be materialistic. And I think this is the reset. And we are still deciding what the future is going to be. And shamans, of course, we dream the future. We start to change our dreams, not just about fear, not just to adapt to the world in a very superficial way, but a real transformation. Because if coronavirus comes from a bat, right, and bat means rebirth, then the bat has given us an opportunity to go through the darkness and to look in the darkness for something that is real, something that will help society, that we can see in the dark again. And that's this epidemic. It's like a near death and coming out of a bat cave.
Yeah, it feels like we're all kind of having to look at ourselves now and figure out what we're going to do, or how we're going to do it, or how we're going to change, or how we're going to do something significant. That's what I've been feeling lately.
Yeah.
I think the great thing about having students for nearly 20 years, since I almost know Foster, of course I had a practice before that. And the interesting thing is to have students who literally collect everything you say. And I got so many emails, which was really like almost traumatizing to me, who said, you mentioned 2003 in a session with a channel that there would be a man-made laboratory virus that would come out, and and I mentioned this time frame of the new decade of 2020. I don't remember this, of course, I don't remember what I did yesterday, but suddenly people come and say, you said last year, it was so interesting because I almost repeated the same thing to a lot of people. And the main thing that I said is that you will go, I said it to everybody, I thought something's broken in my head or my connection. You will go through a near-death experience. You will go through a near-death experience. Usually they are in shamanism more of a psychologic nature. But it was also the necessity to reset yourself. Like it or not, ready or not. And I think that the virus itself, and I don't want to go into conspiracies now, of course, I think it's man-made. And I think, of course, it is part of modern warfare. How do we decimate people without making our hands dirty? And that's exactly what it is for me, at least. And it shows also the evidence goes in this direction. But to answer your question, I think that this is a moment that you either let it beat you down and you give into the mass hysteria, which is also social media, of course, or you really reset your feelings and your thinking. Am I still living by my own principles, or am I just so overoccupied now with, what Twitter is telling me, so to speak? And one thing I want to mention, because it might come up anyway, you see a lot of spiritual people, I'll just leave it like that, who are all about, love and light and readings and Akashic records and past life and Reiki and so on. And then you look at their feeds on Facebook especially, and it's all about sharing what Bill Gates does, what he doesn't do, as if they know him. Then, of course, everybody's now a corona expert. They all suddenly know shit about it. And this is the problem. You cannot focus on something that is very conspiracy-like or very rumored-like, or because no one really knows at this point, and be spiritual. You cannot have your energy in this, or make up your mind.
Yeah, I agree.
So I look at their feeds, love and light and Reiki and shamanism and the past, and then you see, we are being manipulated and we are made into robots. I mean, just wash your damn hands, then you wouldn't need that. Just wash your damn hands in general. But the idea is that what worries me a lot in my field is that people who should know better do the opposite. They feed the opposite. You see, and that is a test phase. That is a test. Very Saturnal, of course. That is a test. Have you gotten a grip on what energy does and how it works, and that when you focus on it, you feed it if you like it or not, or if you mean well or not? And in our field, we can't do this. We can't do this. I wake every day up and I say, thank you to the coronavirus. Because it gives me an opportunity to be really busy, to reinforce my faith again, that I'm being taken care of, that we're well, that we're healthy, that, what a privilege, you know what I mean?
Oh my God, I totally feel that too.
Privilege. And this is the resetting element, but what, the contradiction is what worries me a lot, I have to say. You can't have it both ways. Either you're spiritual, you're shamanic, you're optimistic, or you go with a herd. You know what I mean? You go with the sheep. But you can't say, I believe in energy and love and spirit and Akashic and, all these wonderful things, but look what's happening to us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
you see,
people can talk and they don't live it. So if you really want immunity, you will know now if you have immunity. Are you just a talker, or are you really living it?
Mm-hmm.
And part of coronavirus, I believe, is you have to develop antibodies.
Mm-hmm.
Like when white people first came to indigenous cultures, they brought with them flus and viruses that no one was immune to. No one had antibodies.
Mm-hmm.
So the important thing is to develop antibodies. So eventually everybody's going to have a little bit of coronavirus inside of their system to develop these antibodies for the future. So we all have to get stronger, more immune, less acidic as a culture. We are a very acid-oriented culture. We are not so alkaline anymore, and more people talk about that. They're more green now. They eat greens. They're plant-based. The whole world has to go in that direction. This is a reset on so many levels. It's also a very feminine reset, because we've had 2,000 years of masculinity in control and power, and this is the change. This is a much more balanced perspective, and it will last another 2,000 years. But this is the turning point.
That's the turning point.
And if we don't make the right choices now, individually, about our values, about being spiritual warriors, in this world, now you're getting your calling. Now is the time to really figure out, why did I come to this world in the first place?
Yeah.
So you guys consider that if somebody takes their calling and creates those positive changes, they're like taken care of. What happens to those that don't? Are those the ones that perish or get sick or have a more difficult time?
Yes, they suffer. If you want to live in the old paradigm where materialism and money and everything like that is the most important thing to you, you will go down.
I think the difficulty is for many people to understand the hermetic basic of our contracts. So you guys live in Akashic records, so you know what soul contracts mean. Nothing exists without a contract. But every contract that we sign, that we experience, no matter on what dimension and what level, always has one goal: evolution. Like it or not, ready or not. So intervention is a real thing. That is a real thing. And I do believe that even if I don't say, of course I don't say we wanted all conscious to get all sick and see people die, and but the idea is if you look at numbers, of course, more people die from heart attacks and cancers and smoking, in that sense. So again, it's look at numbers. The idea is, of course, that people will die in a way, because that is part of our life. And some people, let me say, Saturn plays a big role in all of this, because Saturn represents, of course, also seniors, the older people. You see what I mean? And who is the most affected? The older generation. The vulnerable.
Yeah.
But okay, also there's always an underlying problem that the coronavirus, in what it is, amplifies. So the virus itself is not even a virus, it's a protein. That's why they say wash your hands, because soap dissolves the protein. That's why you know what I mean? This is the tricky idea here. It changes the pH level in your body. We can talk about this at some point. So if you keep your body at a healthy pH level, it's like mothballs, you can't avoid the moth, but the moth will say, oh, God, mothballs, I'm out of here. They just don't like a certain atmosphere, so to speak.
And any flu will slow you down.
Yeah.
So when you get that slowed down, you have to be introspective.
Yeah.
And you have to all of a sudden realize, I can't even breathe. Coronavirus affects the lungs.
No.
And all the grief will come up.
Yeah.
And it's a grief around the whole planet. It's a huge grief that we've been building for quite a few years now.
Yeah.
And so you use coronavirus to kind of get the grief out of your heart and out of your system. We were with some body workers that we really respect back in October, November. And the first thing they said is, you have so much grief in your heart. Where is it coming from? Because it's not in your life. So it is grief before something happens. It's like a waiting period where you don't know where the grief is happening. I'm the opposite of Christos. I'm not working very much. I'm taking it like an illness where you slow down, not to do so many things, and just to contemplate and redirects my life only towards spirit all the time, and say something intelligent that touches people from the heart, not just from talking in the mind.
It's interesting that I think that people have a chance now, everything they learned, listened, read, studied, and so on, has to be put into action. Yeah. I always say, that is only my opinion, of course, that when you get sick, you're out of alignment. It's a very simple concept. And to remind again, the contract in our souls, in our Akashic contracts, always results in, I need a development. I need to feel that I'm moving forward. I need to feel that there was a progress, so to speak, you see. And, it's very individual. It's very individual at what point that happens. It can happen, there are Holocaust survivors who survived, Auschwitz and basically, die with corona. You see, but again, sorry, but it's an amplification of what already is there. You see what I mean? It's really a magnifying glass of society and the individuals of society. What we took for granted, to see each other, to hug each other, to have the guy fill my gas at the gas station, to have somebody pack up my laundry. You know what I mean? Then the entitlement of that's normal, that has shifted. That has shifted. And now people have to take care of themselves, body, mind, and spirit. And that is a wonderful opportunity, I have to say, to really sit down and say, wait a minute, why, you know, between you and me, you know, and nobody else, I always said as a joke, to Foster also said, I think this virus will cause more divorces than deaths because I'm dealing with a lot of separations right now.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
interesting.
they said that was happening. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
at the same time, nature is resetting itself.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're in Los Angeles where you can see the ocean now.
Wow.
You can see everywhere
No
because there's no
smoke,
pollution.
No pollution. No
And
smoke.
people are seeing, you know, bobcats and mountain lions, and it's an exciting time.
Yeah.
Because all of nature, when they can sense when human beings are around, and if there's no human beings in the parks, they start to come out. They reclaim the land, and this is part of the correction. So
I love that. But what happens if everybody picks up and goes back to like the normal, you know, commuting and work? That's my worry too.
I think that it might look normal, but it will not. Maybe on the surface it will look normal, but I really think the longevity of the quarantine really will put things into perspective. It might take time to kick in, you know, and reset the idea. But I can imagine, and I do see this a little bit, that some societies would say, you know what, that quarantine in the end was really helpful for nature. There's no ozone holes apparently anymore, and there's, you know, dolphins in the waters of Venice or something like this, I heard, you know, and swans and God knows what. In other words, wouldn't it be a good idea to quarantine ourselves every week for 2 days and leave nature, you know, and maintain this? Because nature has corrected itself. A big worry that we are creating, you know, that it's only us who create the what is it called, the weather changes and the global warming. Well, you know, there's something called the sun, and that has a much bigger effect on our weather and our condition of the planet, which is, you know, nature. But just us, let's say 2 months staying in, and look how nature corrected. So if people are smart, they would say, really, let's do a social experiment and let's stay voluntarily in 2 days a week. 2 days a week, and let's constrict ourselves a little bit. You know, let's pull ourselves a little bit together and see if we can maintain this in a nice way. You know, of course, it's you know, it would be more wishful thinking than anything, but that would make sense. You know what I mean? Because now we know nature literally has the ability to heal in almost no time. We're talking about what, 2 months, 3 months now,
Crazy, yeah.
isn't it? But again, this is what spiritual people always said, shamans always said, just stay out of the forest will grow again. Regenerate. Nature regenerates.
And it regenerates through us. So if we align with nature, so going inside is the same thing,
right,
as what these animals are doing coming out.
Right.
We're starting to embrace nature, and that is a turning point.
Right.
And those that don't do that, they don't adapt.
You know, humanity has one problem. We always worry about extinction. You know, we have to protect, you know, we saw this crazy documentary about the Tiger King.
And yeah.
Oh my God, I saw it. It's awful.
It was like mind-blowing that this, I mean, it's, you know, it's not even real, you know what I mean? But, you know, when people talk about extinction, this animal is gone, that plant is gone, they're not gone. They're not gone, they're hiding. Yeah. They say, you know what, I'll better hide because people worry so much about me. They think they know better what's good for me. And that's why now we have deers and bears and rabbits and God knows what. Where the hell is everybody? You see, now all these extinct species start to show up because we're not interfering.
Well, some people are learning from animals in Tiger King, obviously the people who are closest to them. Mm-hmm. And the other people are trying to dominate them and kill them and put them in cages. And quarantine, of course, is like being in a cage. So Tiger King was the perfect metaphor because everyone's in a cage. He ends up in jail in another cage. This is how people actually feel. Right. And they try to dominate, you know, they try to kill off parts of themselves, like lions, like instincts. And the instincts are starting to grow inside and saying, you know, I want to get out of this cage. I want somewhere to go. I want better conditions. Yeah. I don't want to just give up. And I think that's how people feel. Certainly a lot of elderly people who are older souls said, I'm giving up now.
I'm giving up. I'm out of here.
I'm leaving.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
So true.
And of course, I had some people who said that's not an argument because now we have all these 20, 30, and 40-year-olds who are dying away. Like in New York, for example, I had this people say, yes, but my cousin died at 30. Yeah, but if you see that these younger people, right, they're not just dying away. There is an underlying problem, first of all. And it is the habit of pollution and toxicity we live in. When you live in New York, I mean, I'm sorry, I like New York, but it's dirty. It's always been dirty. It's always been filthy. I mean, you see rats and God knows what everywhere. I mean, it is what it is. That's the nature of an island, you know what I mean, with populated environments. That's what's going to happen. These people don't die because they're so vulnerable. They are in a pollution, in a toxic environment. They eat crap, smoke, whatever, I mean, something is there. And of course, you see, on the news, there was this 21-year-old nurse who died. People, the family says, we don't understand. Then you see the picture. The girl weighs 300 pounds. You know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah.
With diabetes.
With diabetes
other
and
conditions.
So the idea is, again, a virus, also the flu, always tells you two things. You're out of alignment and you're not healing anymore naturally every day. So what do we do naturally when we have a flu? We take a time out. We take a time out. And I don't want to eat. I want to be in bed. I want to sleep, right? We want tea.
I want to dream differently.
I want to dream differently. And suddenly the body recovers again. And then we go back to normal.
Yeah.
You see, and that is the issue. That is the issue. We are part of nature. And if we disconnect from nature, we will not survive. Trust me, this is what it is.
Well, now I'm feeling pretty good that I've been growing some zucchini and tomatoes.
I think that's what's going to happen to most people. They'll grow their own food.
Absolutely.
I think you're on the right track. They're going to save money finally. Most people have never saved money.
There is an old theory that we were discussing with Foster and with you guys a little bit before our talk, that every decade goes through their seasons, we would say, and through their currencies. Like at the beginning of the last century, it was industrialization was the currency. New machines, building, inventing, faster, quicker, machinery, mass production, these things. And then around the 80s, the major currency was money. At least I was already in the 80s, almost 20. So it was all about me, and money, 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 and bigger cars and bigger shoulder pads and bigger hair and
shoulder pads. I forgot.
All exaggerated. And God forbid you're not fitting in there. So it was a very ambitious time. This season of currency was financial. You see, and
that's
now
ending.
That is ending. Now it's ending because the next season, the next currency will be health.
So what does that mean, really? Does that mean that if you have health, everything else is going to align for you in your life? Is that what that means?
Health is alignment because it's well-being.
Right.
It's building the immune system. It's natural. You have to have a connection to nature. You have to be positive.
Right.
To go, above a disease, you have to remain positive. Right. You can't just go to sleep and become negative. You won't really recover. You understand?
You can't tune into the Akashic records who tell you, don't worry, this is a good time, and then look at Twitter and say, oh my God, we're going to shit.
Yeah.
You cannot have it both ways. You see what I mean? The discrepancy between, yes, but it's real, but I want to be spiritual, but I want to be healing. No, health is not only body. It's body, by the way. The physical health is nothing but a result of your spiritual health, your mental health, and your emotional health. Everything physical is like this cup of coffee is not like the cup didn't come with the coffee and vice versa. I had to press a button, a whole mechanism started, and the end result was the coffee. So the coffee that I'm drinking is the result of grinding air pressure, water pressure, pressing it together, grinding it, putting it together in exact measurements, and then slowly putting it to the cup. So I'm drinking it. That is health. So the idea that, Corona says, sorry guys, there is no cure, there is no vaccine, there is no pill, there is no nothing. You have to wait it out. Because that's basically when the whole thing started. And I said to doctors, what do you do? Nothing. You go home. You go home and wait it out. You see? And that is the idea. Now it shows that any misalignment with your nature must manifest in one way or another. In one way or another. And so from a chemical point, I always say, if your pH level is so unnatural, that it doesn't protect you anymore, doesn't naturally protect you anymore, guess what's going to happen? You don't need a doctor or a psychic for this. It's clear you're going to get sick. It's clear you're going to get sick, And so returning forward, and people will do exactly what you do. They will say, you know what? Let me grow my own tomatoes. Let me grow my own thing, because there is nowhere in this world, there's no civilized country that regulates what organic means.
True.
It doesn't exist, and if you see how rice is made in the Western world, you think it's so organic and so natural. Rice needs a lot of water, and very often you find rice fields close to
no, he's not going to say it. The water from the poopy pipes.
Where they recycle water. That's where you find very often water rice fields. Just Google it. You know what I mean? This is just you can get some aerial pictures, and there is your rice field, and there is the clearing of the poopy water, so to speak. But that can be considered organic.
Oh my gosh.
See? So there is.
Oh,
There you go. Literally organic. But the idea is when soil gets so depleted with chemicals, what do you think we put in our body? It's not the food, it's the information of the food.
Yeah, it's lacking nutrients, right?
Right. And that's why we look at the supplement business. The supplement business, at least in the US, $billions. You need this, you need that. And you know what? You do need it, because the natural soil is depleted.
Also, many years ago, a friend of mine, she was a great nutritionist, took me to see these giant places where they radiate food with cobalt-50 radiation, and all the food is radiated. Everything you eat is radiated. And that was such a shock to me. And she explained to me, I'm going to die. She was going to die in a few years. And she said, I don't want to be here for this, because your food is so manipulated now that they'll go to phase 2, which is basically only the strong, the adaptable will survive.
Right.
And that we'll get rid of certain populations, it will make them infertile. That's going to come next.
That's happening already?
That happens already.
That's exactly what it is.
She actually told me the whole plan, what comes next, when there's no water, that's clean to drink.
Yeah.
And you're going to have your children's children live through all this. Are you prepared? And so, for many years, she prepared me.
Yeah.
So, how would you prepare? You'd start, of course, growing your own food, becoming sustainable with yourself, have your own system of water.
Also, a lot of people can't do this. But I heard many years ago that you could adopt a cow. In some farm, you could adopt a cow, and that basically through a subscription, the farm would send you milk and cheese made from that cow.
That sounds so cute, though.
I do that.
So again, the idea, I think, of community and farming, that will change.
I find that really crazy you're saying that, because that's what I've been telling Lorena and my family, that the Akashic records have been giving me. I'm like, am I crazy? Am I the only one receiving this?
No,
and I keep bugging my family about it. I'm like, I'm nuts.
Where we're going. I think that communities and fields and farmers and really defining the idea of organic and natural, because trust me, cage-free chicken means they're out of the cage, but the reason why they're out of the cage and don't run away is they're so, injected with stuff that their chests are basically so big.
Oh yes, I've seen that. It's awful. It's so sad.
That is called organic.
Yeah.
Nature is the great healer. This is what we're returning to understand.
And the animal world is not nature.
Mm-hmm.
You see, nature is the first class source of light. The first class source of light is the plant world, not animal.
So how far away do you think we are of like that really bad situation? Do you think we have a few years, or is it like super soon, do you think?
It's the turning point. This
is the turning point.
This is it. We decide now. And in 10 years, there's a much larger pandemic.
Yeah.
This is only a trial run.
This is only a trial run, yeah.
This is just a test to see how populations go through this.
Yeah.
The next is much more virulent, much more extreme.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you must be immune now. That's why you'd start to change your life this decade.
Right. But it cannot go without consciousness.
So does that mean in like different aspects? So, and you said like spiritual, mental, maybe emotional. Yeah. What does that mean for everybody now? Because I think that might mean different things for different people. Like some people might have had, I don't know, bad habits like smoking and eating junk food. Maybe that's something they need to change. Maybe for others, it's like following their calling of like, I don't know, doing the Akashic records and helping people through that and following their spiritual path. Like, is it in every aspect?
I think, yes, I completely agree. I really think that the most important thing is that with the work that light workers do, like you guys are light workers, I hope we are light workers. We have a lot of great people around us who are light workers in their own field. It is, I think, to expand the consciousness, not only to say, well, cross your fingers, I'm going through this, but to be in absolute understanding that life is not an accident. It is a complete choice. And you know this from the Akashic records. No life is set only one way. It always comes with options. It's called the doors of the unknown, because the freedom of choice is always given. Always given. And this is exactly, I think, a part of this new currency of health. It is, why should I, who can I trust is the word. Who can I trust? The government, the WHO, my doctor, my nutritionist, who? You see what I mean?
But this is the waiting period.
Yeah.
So after this waiting period comes action. And action in the world is to show your light in the world and help other people to find their light.
Yeah. Walk the walk, talk the talk.
And that's going to be
the
real
exactly
calling for everyone.
That's exactly what it is. I do believe that the spiritual community that's always been laughed at and poo-put in and, look at Lorena and Lucy, they're kind of cute, but a little cuckoo. Just we're going to be taken much more serious, because I can tell you already, once this is somewhat over, I do think about 2 more months, people will come out of their homes traumatized.
Yeah.
Traumatized because they didn't have to spend so much time with themselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That is the idea. And I can't tell you how many sessions I give every day. I do Skype sessions like every day almost. And it's almost like, what should I do? You were telling me about that book you want to write, that job you want to do, that language you want to learn, that thing you want to do. Now do it. Now do it. You see, and it's really about resetting your priorities from a spiritual point. Am I a healing factor in the world? Do I create healing energy in the world? Am I a blessing in the world? Do I provide? Then you get back.
That's why we're here.
That's why we're here. That's why we're here. He does this for 40 plus years, every day, every year, to restore somebody's nature. Not only be well, but what kind of wellness do you have to offer in the world? In other words, when you guys give readings, and hopefully that reading makes you a better person, that you provide a better quality in the world. That is the real idea.
Yeah.
That is the real idea. Yeah.
I feel that too. Like we've spoken about that with Lucia. Like for me, the only time I kind of feel completely aligned is when I do a reading. when I'm
Yes.
able to help
I'm
somebody.
telling you, I'm telling you, we went through our flu and cough like everybody. It was cough seasons, it was flu season. Thankfully, it was only the flu in that sense. But now you can't tell the difference anymore. What, when was what? You know what I mean? But we went through it, and I felt quite miserable at times. Like a typical flu. A headache. I had bronchitis, which I always have when seasons show up. The moment I give a reading or a class, it was gone. Not a flu, not a symptom, nothing. The moment I finished, there came the whole thing. And that is what we know so well, right? That the alignment with our system, our energy, keeps us safe, keeps us balanced. It's not extremely positive, not extremely negative. It's the center. And the balance is where we have to go.
And that's called an alignment with spirit.
Yeah.
That's what we call it.
Yeah.
Spirit is what we go to when we dream, and we regenerate ourselves while we're sleeping because we go to the other side.
Right.
And so the idea of being in the in-between, when you're giving a reading and you're connected to spirit, that's when you're most alive.
Right.
Yeah, totally.
You don't need a war for that. You don't need to fight for that. You don't need to be a ruthless person in a city, with your career. You need to align with spirit. That's what you finally realize.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the days that we did like readings, I might like listen to the news and be like, oh my goodness, like, oh, I can't believe what I'm hearing. And I might be a little iffy about it. And then I do a reading and I'm like, this is amazing. Everything that's supposed to happen. I hear myself saying, I'm like, I can't believe I'm so happy about this coronavirus right now. And then like I finished the reading and I'm like, yeah, for some reason, when I'm connected to the Akashic Records, I'm excited about coronavirus. And then when I shut them down, I'm back to Lucia going, oh, I don't know.
Yeah, but you see, I do from experience, of course, is if you go into resistance,
you meet more of it.
You meet more of it. That's just what it is. So again, you can go online and you can look at the news. And the news, by the way, is also that 700,000 people recovered.
Yeah.
750, or it might be higher now, but they all recovered. And now the people who seem to have had it already like a year ago, because no one really can trace back when it was. In other words, a great deal of the world has created an immunity for it now, antibodies, so to speak, And so, but of course, we're focusing on the fear factor. And again, if you give in, you're going into the opposition of what you should know. It doesn't help anything to focus on the tragedy of things. But I'm telling you, if we look at death by hunger, how many children are dying of hunger every day? You need 10 coronaviruses to match it up, you know what I mean? And
survival,
look, we got used to it.
Survival of the fittest is when you take a vaccine, and not everybody's going to survive the vaccine.
Yeah.
So a lot of people die from vaccines.
Right.
Totally.
And so this overriding idea of, now we're going to blame, I'm going to have a lot of conspiracy theorists. And but when you look at the actual people who are doing it, they actually believe in it.
Right.
So we have to start to look at conspiracy theories, how it divides us.
And again,
misinformation.
I think what Foster also tells is, and we talked about this, I think, the other day, we really have to be very careful with all these rumors around, because there is a deliberate spread of misinformation to harvest people's energy.
Absolutely.
Totally.
We know harvesting is quite a nasty little business, but scaring people out of their minds is the number one way. Look at churches. If you don't come to church, at least in the US, and give us your checks that you got, you're going to hell. And everybody ran to church and got infected with corona. I mean, if you don't have enough brain in your head, you know what I mean? Scary.
Yeah.
But that is what happens. That is what happens. Common sense, And again, we talk about this every day, and I look at it and I say, some people will get it and some people won't get it. And it is the natural selection of not the strongest, the prettiest, the richest will survive, but the one that is the most adaptable. You see? the idea of vaccines, and I want to be careful with it. I'm not completely anti-vaccine because in some situations you can't go around it. Like polio, for example. We know the effect of polio, and children who didn't get it, they got crippled, but they didn't need. So you understand there is a value. It is what else is in the vaccine. Even, my friends talk a lot about natural vaccination, which is called nosode in homeopathy. To create a nosode, you need still a little bit of the virus or the illness.
Yeah.
That's why we call it healing crisis. That's why when you take a nosode, they say, please don't be surprised if you get sick, because it recreates, you know what I mean? It's a vaccine basically.
You get like some of the, what's it called? Like your muscles hurt and
exactly. Yeah. You have the thing is that the homeopathic version promises almost, because it's a natural frequency, that the effect won't have any side effects. And a great deal of people who create vaccines, the chemical idea of a vaccine, that is their worry. It creates side effects. And sometimes we just don't know what in the long run of side effects they have. But in both ways, I think I remember my mother would send me to little play parties with sick kids when they had mumps or something, And the only thing she allowed me to get as a child, I mean, that is like 40 years ago, 50 years ago, is polio, which was on a sugar cube, a little few drops on a sugar cube. And that she said, that I want you, because we had so much illness in our environment. I grew up very poor. And so you will find these illnesses always around poverty.
Yeah.
It is just what it is. It is what it is. And from a society point, if we want to go conspiracy, of course, the conspiracy theorists said they want to get rid of the people who don't provide anything valuable, people who multiply like crazy, who have 10 kids they can't afford. And I get it. There's a whole mystery around these things. And some is true, some is complete X-Files,
And
but
that's the idea of compassion. Are we going to have compassion for the vulnerable?
Right.
Are we going to help the vulnerable?
Right.
Are we going to care about elders?
Right.
Are we going to care about these children with new diseases? What are we going to do as a society?
No.
Are we going to take care of the vulnerable? Are we going to side with the people who are creating an alternative world for themselves, where only the beauty and the great survive? Do you understand? Those are the most adaptable.
Yeah.
What if the most adaptable are these spiritual people?
Right.
That in the end, I think, is the final solution.
And people think it's so impossible. They say, oh, you just overdo it. And, it's not that powerful. I want to just remind them that 75 years ago, a little virus with a small mustache convinced millions that the Jews will run over the world and buy us all. And with no Twitter, by standing there and speaking, convince them.
It's incredible. It's incredible how that happened. I still think about it sometimes and go, how do you convince so many people that what you're saying is true and to follow you? How?
To follow you.
The power of fear. The power of the collective.
We call it the forked tongue. You have two tongues.
Yeah.
You say one thing, but you mean something completely different, which is the manipulation.
Right.
And when you get so used to that as a habit, and you're doing it every day in your life, then if you're going to go into any kind of slowdown like this, you're going to face the forked tongue.
Right.
You're going to see how your actions have nothing to do with what you say.
In other words, the collective, and we are part of the collective, but we have the choice. Either we follow the brainwashing or we follow common sense.
Yeah.
We follow common sense. That is the idea.
But I just look talking about the compassion and all of that. I'm obviously not living in Uruguay right now, neither is Lucia, but we heard about that ship that was that they denied them in Argentina, they denied them in Chile, and then they were just sitting outside of Uruguay, and Uruguay let them in. Like, that just gives me goosebumps thinking about that, like all these poor people on that ship, and everyone with the fear and don't let these people in, and how, you know what I mean? Like,
That's the
Uruguay
future.
that has like less human abilities because we have less population, less money, and the country still opened up the port, coordinated with New Zealand and Australia, let these people come on the port, took care of them, spent their own government money to assist them, and no other country would do it. And I can't believe it. I can't believe that
blows my mind.
no one cared about all these people stuck on a ship that were running out of food, and all of them were giving the sickness to each other.
This is where you make the choice.
Yeah.
Do you help the vulnerable, and do you do a profession to do that? You understand? That's bringing light to people that are now going to be so marginalized you cannot imagine.
Mm.
It gets worse before it gets
But
better.
again, history teaches us that there's this famous episode of Jews who made it on a boat, made it over the Atlantic under the worst conditions, and then were denied entry. They said, no, you're going all back. And then a German U-boat came and bombed them to death, basically. Happened. We had this now with the immigrants who are fleeing the worst conditions in their countries. And what do? What should we do here with them? You see, again, I think that, again, can we give these people a solution? No. To let an immigrant who leaves a very specific society and culture and come to, let's say from Pakistan, to come to Norway, right? So it's like a different planet. It's like a different planet. It depends on how they adapt, but they will never be fully integrated.
Yeah.
It is just the human nature to sort out what doesn't look like me, what doesn't talk like me, what doesn't act like me. You see, the solution is to go to their countries and teach them, educate them, empower them. This is, I believe, very much. It's not let them, randomly run over borders and, we take care of them. Obviously, it didn't work. But the idea is, what can we do with these people? Educate them, empower them, teach them. You see, in a different way now I'm going to say this in a funny way. I try because it's tragic. But, I grew up sexually in the 80s, and also as a gay man in the 80s, when there was a plague going on, and I remember how people acted in that time, because there was not much known. Don't breathe with me, don't touch them.
People totally, yeah.
Absolutely. The illness was just a cover-up to justify homophobia.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Sometimes it still is. Depends on where you are in the world.
And coronavirus is just a cover-up to justify racism.
Certainly.
Yeah,
that's what it is for me. That's what it is. And of course, gay people look at straight people right now, oh my God, the government is dumping us and doesn't do. And they say, oh, your first plague, been there, done that.
Yeah.
Well, genetically modified viruses don't stray too far away from where they're created. Right? So if it was created, as some people say, in North Carolina, and then it was sent to Wuhan, the places that are most affected are China, Africa, very specific places. When you have this kind of an epidemic that now goes worldwide, and then they watch to see how it will play out.
Right. And now we hear every day Chinese people or Chinese-looking people or Asian-looking people being, at least in the US, being spat on, beat on, racism. That's what it is. That is what it is. I think it is, I hope it is a test and a transition to becoming more compassionate towards each other.
Yes.
I feel that. I do.
The majority of people.
The majority of people. And the majority always wins, and I can guarantee you, and you know this from the Akashic Records. The Akashic Records always told me the majority of people incarnated on this planet are good people, are positive people, are, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. We just pay attention to the 5 who make the nastiest noise, and the media feeds them.
Yeah.
The media feeds them. But the good thing is also that we start to question the media. Do we need that much TV? Do I need that much news? Is this all true? Let me look how my neighbor is, because that is real. Let me see how my neighbor from across the street is. Let me bake something and take care. And this, I have to tell you, this is something from a European standpoint, very American in their spirit. Americans have community spirit. With virus, and no, I came to this country and I was so impressed how Americans care for each other. Really, don't look at what is going on, politically right now. It's the nature of Americans, very compassionate. They like to talk to each other, always like to communicate. And there is something called community consciousness. Let me take care of people. Let me bring them food. There's programs, so to speak.
Yeah.
And that spirit is very American, and that spirit is very human. We just don't hear about it in the news. That's all.
Oh, you don't? Yeah, you hear the bad stuff.
It's happening exactly in that moment while we talk.
Yeah.
And Uruguay is a country for healing. I think that it's in the soil, in Salta, in so many places. I think there were these great alchemists that lived there, that built their castles, and then they, transcended. I think many things have happened in Uruguay. I mean, there's always been teachers in every country. Brazil had a great Melchizedek teacher. And, Argentina now, of course, is completely interested in the indigenous people that were destroyed. Right? And now they're turning in that direction after, quite a few, more than a decade now of economic adversity.
What I think is very interesting, and this is something that history always shows, when a crisis ends, especially a global crisis, then we know where you stood. We will know what was your opinion, what did you vote for, how did you handle things, how did you...
It's true. You start finding out, yeah.
Then, and that is what I'm so grateful about the situation, is that you can argue and talk and explain. Don't get brainwashed. Don't believe this. Don't go crazy. Don't go this. In the end, we will know where were you? What did you vote for? What was your opinion? How did you say something? How did you handle? And there is, thank God, social media documents everything. And there are people with too much time on their hand who screenshot everything. So there is no hiding of who you are.
Yeah.
And that is the idea. And that's what I tell my people. Try to come out of this with your head held high.
Yeah.
At least I did my part. We stayed home. We wash our hands. We do this, we do exactly what is socially responsible and important to do. Exactly like when AIDS came out and we kind of understood how it works, that using condoms, safe sex protection, was a form of respecting the body and respecting sexuality. You can't just go and run with 10 people into the woods and don't expect a result.
Yeah.
That was exactly the idea. So the idea of social distancing, I think, will become, in a less drastic version, a very important element.
Hygienic.
More hygienic, and I'm not mad about it. I was always known as the Lysol queen. We always said, that stuff is poisonous. I said, I know.
That was me too. I was like, get that away from me. I'm like, I love it.
Not germaphobe, but I've seen people on planes do this.
Oh, disgusting.
That is first class, okay? So, you understand? I can't expect the person beside me to have the same style of, idea of hygiene. So I'm running around with Lysol bottles, and I forced them on him too. I said, use that, And now people say you were actually quite right. I want to say to exaggerate the idea a little bit, But that is exactly the concept. We have to live a much more spiritual hygienic life.
Yeah.
Mental hygienic life. Wait a minute. Why am I thinking this? Hold on a second. Why am I spending so much time thinking about something, about the faucet that keeps me awake, and now the dripping makes me miserable all night so that I'm going to be in a bad mood tomorrow? Just get up and close the faucet. You see what I mean? And I think that we live in a very incomplete society where we are used to get stuff done by others. And now we have to just get up and do our own hair, and we have to cook for ourselves.
Yeah, I thought that was really weird that everyone kept complaining about not getting their hair cut. I mean, I've been cutting my own hair for like 5 years. Why is everybody freaking out? There's things that people are complaining about that I really don't understand. I don't consider it a problem at all. It's weird.
But it's weird, isn't it? I'm not like, that's your problem. I mean,
Yeah.
People who never cooked in their lives, and now act like, I mean, look, a pandemic starts. People buy toilet paper. Explain this to me. Toilet paper.
My dad used to work, used to own, he was the rep of Georgia Pacific in South America. And when recession hit, this was many years ago, he was the only one that was still making money. And my dad said, people are still shitting, I'm still making money.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
For Christos and I, back in August, it began for us. We both discussed it and we said, let's sell everything we own. Mm-hmm. Let's start all over again. Mm-hmm. Let us downsize because something huge is coming.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And we need to, we put our house up for sale. We moved to Palm Springs and even further, more like Joshua Tree and everything. We were examining the area. We were looking at the desert. We were trying to find places that still had ley lines, that still had places of power that were not dormant. Mm-hmm. Because like Santa Fe used to be a place full of tremendous energy. And I was there at the peak of it, learning shamanism. You can't imagine what that's like to be in a vortex. Wow. And then all of a sudden it goes to sleep. Mm-hmm. Mount Shasta opens.
I want to go there.
Yeah, all these places are incredible. Glastonbury has its openings, then it goes to sleep.
Yeah.
So you get used to those kind of energies. And we felt it. Something really strong is coming. Let's sell everything. Let's downsize. Let's not have very many bills.
Yeah.
We felt it then, and we're still trying to get there. We're still trying to get. We're not there yet.
We started the process, you see, and it was almost like we woke up at the same day and said, "Okay, it's time to move on."
Yes.
And we don't have to. We don't have to. We could do this until the day we die, or But we woke up and said, "Feeling it? Yeah, time to move on. Time to downsize and purge. At the same time, make room for essentials. What is really, really crucial, what is really, really important. That's the idea."
And I was waking up, greeting the sun. I was doing a medicine wheel in the backyard. We were doing conscious breathing practices, a new kind of conscious breathing practice.
Can I move in with you guys?
Yeah, with you.
That made us so happy. That was downsizing for us, you know?
Yeah.
Especially he
feeling the weather.
He felt the change immediately. He felt it much quicker than I did, you see. But it again, in retrospect, I want to remind you, in almost 90% of readings of all of 2019, I said always a repetitive thing. It's a near-death experience. And it was Eastern, which is now, and a repetition around November of this feeling. And to me, mostly it is a psychologic near, but also for some people it is a physical one.
This is the bad idea again.
But again, this is part of life. We have to understand that death is natural. It happens in the most tragic ways, in the most natural way. It happens every day. It happens, and it will continue to happen. It's just that now we are forced to look at the world from the four walls of our own consciousness. And that is what we're doing. What is the world we're living in? What is the truth? What is, you know what I mean? I liked CNN, now I think, what the hell is going on? I like the newspapers. I like, what? A week with no Twitter and no news, and I felt quite well.
Me too.
You cannot have it both ways. You see, you cannot have it both ways and say, the world goes to shit, I'm connecting with God now. Just, no.
The news in Europe is better because when I listen to only 30 minutes a day, but when I listen to it now, they're talking about like countries opening and people are going to start going back to work. So now it's the mood is changing on what you're hearing.
Right. We also have Saturn in Aquarius, so that's going to affect everything because we're moving towards that December moment when it really stays there for a long time.
But again, the dangerous thing is Saturn moved into Aquarius.
Short time.
Then he moved back
Yes.
to Capricorn. That's why we have a delay. It's almost like, don't be too happy.
Yes.
Oh,
One more
okay.
time. And only, I believe in December, it moves completely. And for, I think, the next 30 years or
Yes,
something
and that changes
into
everything.
Aquarius. And so is Pluto, Pluto, and so is Jupiter.
That's the great
You know,
transition, the great
These
purification.
are the great transitions. And whenever we are in a transition from one to another, we're going to feel it. We're going to feel it. And Pluto, Saturn, Jupiter are global planets. You know, they're not going to affect only one or two people. They're going to affect everybody, you see. But the idea is, it's an exercise in faith. The faith to know that all I need to do is to connect every day with my source of divine consciousness. It doesn't matter what you call it. And to know that that is all that's necessary to be taken care of. I can tell you, we are the best example of the last couple of weeks that could have gone haywire for us, that could have gone really, really bad. And almost, you could almost see after a ritual, for example, I'm a ritual person. The next day, the solution showed up. Almost effortless. And that created, at least in me, because I'm usually the worrying kind of type, the idea of I'm surprisingly very calm. And all I did was my candle, my invocation, my ritual. And the next day, some solution. And we were literally, we have the experience of being carried, you know. It could have gone really, but it was like here, there, here.
Yeah.
It was amazing how natural the transition was to come back, because we never made it to Europe, really. We got stuck in London, basically.
Yeah.
Then we returned back, and it was not good, you know. And all I did is, you know, I always go to the Great Mother, of course, and said, you know, Hecate, I leave it to you. You show us the best version. Literally 6 hours later, a day later, it was all laid out. All laid out, you see. And it doesn't matter what you call it. You connect with it, you will be taken care of.
So for those people maybe that are listening and going through financial struggles because maybe they're lost their job, you're suggesting that they do that basically, right? And try to ask for the solution to...
That's all they have.
Yeah.
That's all they have, because now they are in a physical situation, which is part of their social makeup. You know, we go to work, we get our money, we pay our bills. We go to work, we pay our money, and so when that is interrupted, what do? I can't go and say, you know, find money in the backyard or something. No, this is the rhythm you have created, and that is the rhythm that you have obliged to, and now it's interrupted. So what do? What do? Well, what is left? Spirit, health, food, care, you know, internalized. That is the idea. That's all you can do. And again, at the end of the day, it's always the same subject that we're talking about. I don't say you ruined your life on purpose, or it's your own fault you're in the situation. It's a collective situation. But nevertheless, to me, it always represents that we have been so, let me use the word, hypnotized out of our minds, out of our sentiments, that suddenly we're snapping back into our bodies.
Totally.
What happened? How did I get here? What? I have to stay home now? You know what I mean? And that is what's happening.
Those that were like working.
And that is the great awakening, not by external, internal.
Yeah.
See, because the rhythm is interrupted. And I have people, by the way, who did their homework. I always give them homework here anyway. And they said, you will not believe, I almost am ashamed to say how well I'm doing.
Yeah.
How well I'm doing. I listened to the reading. I paid attention to the detail. I knew what you were meaning. I could put the dots together in my own life, and I adjusted to it. And you guys know, you give a reading, it doesn't mean that people understand it, but you're responsible for what comes out of you, not how people understand it.
Totally.
You see?
Yeah.
And no one can say, at least in our field, I didn't know. I didn't know. Of course you knew, because I mentioned it in a certain context, and people said, oh my God, Chris is dooming and glooming. It was just so dominant, the whole idea. So
Oh, I
dominant,
mean, even our episode that we did,
right? Yeah,
like we knew something big was coming.
exactly. You could sense it, smell
You
it.
still feel it in the air.
You
Something
still
is
Yeah.
feel in the air, exactly.
So what about if like we all created a positive change right now, everybody? Would there still be more coming? Because we're all, is it already kind of like there, or is it because we all need to fully wake up that something else needs to kind of keep coming at us?
something that unifies the whole planet. That's usually an ecological catastrophe. So that is coming. Whatever has to unify a planet is coming from nature. And we know it's coming. We know that everything that we have done polluting the earth, whatever, can be reversed. And yet at the same time,
Obviously.
of course, there are petrochemical companies, there are mining interests, there are so many interests that are not going to allow that to happen.
Yeah.
So this is going to be the separation between those that are only interested in their own self-interest and those that are here of service to others.
And what about those that are stuck on like small islands? Like Lorena, she's in Cayman Islands. Should Lorena
Literally
just
stuck on an island.
should she like run away from that island as soon as she can?
It's never good to be near the coastlines when you're in a big purification like this. Never. Better
I'm
to
literally on the ocean.
go. You'll know when to leave. You'll know when it's no longer sustaining you.
But you see, all our apartments now, if you have one, is an island.
Yes.
Yeah.
So again, I do believe in just to return to your question and what we were talking about, what should somebody do who is confronted, is really take the time to understand something very simple. Am I really happy?
Such a good question to ask
Am
ourselves.
I really happy?
I have a feeling that most people would say no to that.
I hear it. I mean, I'm working with it. And therefore, when people say, why am I in this boat? Because others can do a lot of work online. They can continue their businesses. You know what I mean? They just shift the focus on the electronic medium. But others who have to go to work, to a factory, to an office, to a place, they can't do it. And I always say, are you happy? And in 99% people say, I always hated that job. I'm kind of happy, if I'm honest, that I don't need to go to the shithole of an office with my shitty, negative colleagues and my boss who is a loser. Anyway, I'm kind of happy. But I need my job. But there's a idea. Is that really what makes you happy?
I think we're being pushed to look at that now.
Yes.
Like there's no way we can.
Yeah, you see, so I hope that when we all come out of our caves, that we're coming out with that question, how important it is. Am I happy with what I choose to experience? And am I benefiting the world in some shape or form?
It's weird because I'm here in Holland and I don't see anybody reacting that way here. Everyone seems to be like, okay, we're just going to wait for everything to be okay. Let's all go back to work. And I don't see anybody looking in. I don't understand it. Obviously it's not my culture. I just live here. I've been living here for 2 years almost.
Right.
But I don't see anyone reacting that way. And it's very bizarre to me because it's like I'm alone. And
The underworld journey, of course, the finality of it, to go through an underworld journey and not just get depressed, because a lot of people will get depressed the minute they have to go inside. They will see how many years they've been depressed. Remember, there's so many things have been happening on the earth with animals leaving, the imbalances of things. You feel it on a very, subconscious level, so deeply that it is affecting you all the time. So the earth wants to, replenish itself. It wants to correct all that and correct your beliefs and correct the way you live and all these things. So an underworld journey is that correction. Everybody is in it, whether they realize it or not.
Right.
I mean, I don't think Europe can really go back to normal. And you'll see in the future, Europe doesn't do so well later, much later. Right now, I'm much more interested in tipping the balance. I'm much more interested in, like you're doing. We have to really
Yeah.
motivate people in Europe. We have to really get them to understand.
Yeah.
And that will
But,
change the future.
don't you see, guys, in your readings that you give people that very often the situation is not an awakening, but more rather of a seed
Yeah.
that eventually along the way will awakening. I see this more as a seed period,
I do
Even-
too.
Yeah.
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 Even if people in Holland are, like, oh, who cares? It's going to be okay. And, life goes on. Maybe not conscious, but I think in retrospect, it will always, when the time is right, really it will get you to a place of dealing, the latest is when you have to deal with your own mortality, when you realize I'm not going to be tight and young forever, and gravity is taking a toll, and now the body starts to break down, and now these things, the latest in that point, these seeds will start to take place. Remember, awareness and consciousness is not what the amount makes the experience valuable. It is that it happens at all is the experience. In other words, just somebody who says, I always have been an atheist, but I think there is something beyond this physical plane. That alone is already a transformative experience for that soul. It's less the idea of illumination going to some 9 dimensions, which we were not, because you can't skip dimensions. That's what it is. But that is, again, the idea of the society that we are. Drink this juice, it will make you will lose 30 kilos in a week. We are willing to believe these fake promises, basically, these scams, basically, and the misconception, especially in our field, that fix me in an hour, or give me the reading that gives me everything, I don't need to think again, and where every decision is great. That is what people have been overpromised.
Yeah.
That everything in spirituality is out of time. There's no expiration date. It's not like, have I made it, or have I succeeded? No, you will actually never make it, never succeed. And because there's always evolution and the desire to continue. So be in a very happy way incomplete, so to speak, and enjoy it, because completion means also it's kind of over. And then what,
Yeah.
That's, scary. But you understand, it's
Yeah.
not
If there's nothing else for you to grow from, then it's time for you to go.
You know what I mean? It's not like I expect people not to have this big dimensional awakening. That is, again, the same scam of, follow that guru and you will be enlightened eventually. Or, don't eat, don't breathe, don't do that, and stand on your head and you lose all your karma. It's these scammers in our field that we observe individually.
Everywhere.
I'm sure you met them. They smack their head on Monday. On Tuesday, they're shamans and heal people. No education. It is what it is, and I call them out. Of course, I don't say you're a scammer or a fake, but I say, listen, don't you think that you need a proper education? I want you to heal. I want you to read. You didn't wake up one day and said, I read Akashic Records. You have to work yourselves into this and have to keep work. It's a muscle. You see,
Every day.
spiritual muscle is a muscle that needs training in shamanism as well. So of course, when people say, well, how long does it take to become a shaman? 10 years.
I started obviously working hard, and then after I took out red meat was my first step to get my channel stronger, and then I became a vegan, and I started to connect even more. It was years. I've been doing it for 11 years, but I don't have the full confidence either. I still feel like I can be better. I need to be better. I need to channel better.
It's not about better. It's about surrendering to your faith. It's not about better. It is the moment, and that's what I'm telling. I can relate very well to you. Very often I think, what the hell am I doing here? And should I even do this? And I don't know shit about life. You know what I mean? No one can be objective with themselves. Thank God, otherwise we would be schizophrenic. But when I work, when I am in service, when I teach, there's absolutely no doubt I am a very good teacher. Absolutely. I know exactly what I do. I am very good in my readings. You guys know because I get your readings. And
yeah, we both got readings.
They have to be reasonable. They have to be, you know what I mean? With him, no question, because he does this for the greatest part of his life, you know what I mean? Complete surrendering. That is what I'm supposed to do. There's no question around it. I completely surrender to my faith.
I love that.
That's good advice. Yeah.
And that's what it is. You know, of course you're human, you know, you don't know crap about what's going on. You know, in other words, I lose my purse, it's gone, you lose yours, I can find it. You know, you can't be objective with yourself. You have to still earn your lunch. You see, that's what Joe always said. There's no free lunch in the world. But when you know why you're doing what you're doing, and you completely surrender, there's no other word I can find. You just know this is where I am in absolute alignment with my calling.
You need to like have your own radio show. So in the morning when the alarm clock goes off, I hear you say these positive things.
I needed to hear that. So that was amazing.
That was amazing. Yeah.
You see what I mean? So forget the idea of getting better and getting somewhere. This is the scam that is so, you know, read The Secret, do The Secret, just visualize it and it comes. Well, now we have 1 million people who didn't come. Well, now you need the key to The Secret because you're too stupid to understand The Secret in the first place. Or if you're still too dumb to understand the key to The Secret, now I'll give you the lost secret to the key to The Secret. And you're still too dumb. Now you need a $10,000 cruise where we will talk about The Secret. It's a scam. I'm sorry. You know, I'm doing some classes now, right? And I said to people, you know, on Zoom, and I said, I'm closing the class, but you can have over 100 people. I don't want 100 people.
Oh God, no.
You understand? I've never been 100 people. I want 20, maybe 25, 30 maximum. I want to see faces, not pixels. You see?
Yeah.
I've never been the guy who says, you know what, I'm going to just scare the crap out of people. He's never been and, you know, make them pay. You're wonderful. You're really great, Lorena, but you know, you have a curse. And for 10,000, I can take it off you.
Oh God.
Oh my God, there's like, there's a bunch of like.
Every week I have at least one person who will say that. I don't think I can live long enough to convince people. There is no such thing as a curse that will kill you. Unless you mess with the wrong person.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
You know, when I was hit by lightning, I had to surrender completely to my faith because I came from an East Coast establishment at Georgetown. And I was next going to go to Yale, or I was going to stay in New York, and I changed my whole life after the lightning. And within 6 months, I was in the mountains in a separate environment from the society. The shamans had taken 7 of us into the hills, and we didn't live with people anymore. And they forced us, you know, to even be naked, and you have to go through cold waters, and you have to heat the water with your mind. You have to run, and they send negative thoughts to you and you fall. They send positive thoughts and you can really well. You had to do incredible obstacle courses. They used to hang me, you know, from the side of a mountain with a rope. And I had to learn how to survive, because first you have to have survival instinct to become a shaman. You have to really want to live. You can't have that doubt of, oh, maybe I want to die now. Maybe I'm going to give up. You could never really give up. They were always testing you. And this will to live gets very strong. And everything you're learning, you know, how to make things warm, how to live in a room with 7 people, you know, where you sleep all together with your heads, how to do all this dreaming together. You know, you have to enter into a dream. There's a whole protocol where you open up a gateway, and you have to go through the gateway, and you have to dream together. You have to meet each other in another place. I mean, it's very involved.
How long was that?
6 months. Just that training was 6 months. And in the end, they had to become ruthless tyrants to you. They had to be cruel to you at the very end so that you would leave them.
Oh, wow.
You know, it's like a wolf comes and, you know, grabs your arm, or they were horrible at the very end. And violent even. And I said, you know, no, I don't want this in my life. And you make a conscious decision. Now I'm going to live this. And they helped me to leave. But while you're going through it, it is incredible. And it stays with me to this day.
Were they trying to make your mind stronger? That's what it is.
There's so much. There were so many levels to it. The underworld journey, they have to let you die. They take you through a journey through all the planets. The shamans were teaching me, all the different systems, how to talk to the constellations until you have Kundalini. That's when the stars through your body and you hear all the bells inside of your body. And then you have the full Kundalini. That was really one of the great moments for me that allowed me to stay with them. They teach you body work, specific places to press on the body. You have to learn specific positions also, and with breathing to be able to keep in alignment, to keep, spiritual energy going through your body, to do incredible healing work. You have to do the different suns, the one above you, the one below you, the one inside, and bring them together and then push them through your hands. You're trained every day. It was unending. Actually, I loved it, even though it was extremely hard and in its own environment, so that when I came back into life, into regular life, into society, people just looked at you like, what happened to you? Are you psychotic?
No.
I also had a long beard, I had long hair. Indians were always coming up to me, hi, I'm Cherokee, I'm this. Everybody said, you must be Indian. So this was the beginning of living with tribes and living with indigenous people, because it had so fundamentally changed my viewpoint. And I believe everybody in some level is going through that.
Yeah.
Or will.
I also think that if you read
In their own
Foster's biography, I mean, not biographies, but he wrote 2 books about the experiences in that time. Nothing that he did was planned.
Can they get those books on your website? Is that the only place you can get it? Or
When lightning strikes a hummingbird.
Yeah. Or The Violet Forest, which describes it very, very well. It's really when you look at the story, there's not one page that says, and then I woke up and I was planning to do this and this and this and this and go there, there, and then there. Literally, he is the one who goes with the flow in complete faith.
Oh, I love that.
Nothing that he does, he plants.
That's amazing.
Not much more that he gets older, you know what I mean? He takes care of certain things. But when I met Foster and I met him and he gave me his 2 books. So I started reading and there was no real internet yet in that, there was no Wikipedia. You couldn't Google anybody. So I read the books and I thought, he has no plan. Okay. And of course, it was clear what I experienced with him and, that I would love to be with him. And I thought, is that a smart thing? Because the man is a shaman. He just wakes up and goes with the flow of the day. And I need to go from the bed to the coffee machine to the toilet to the TV. You know what I mean? I like this idea. And I thought, is that going to work? But that is the concept. When you surrender to your calling, there is no way. You completely give your will to the divine source and say, guide me where you need me. And that's what his life is, the best experience.
And then comes, the study with plants. Then you learn to be with plants, to speak with frequencies, to learn that everything is frequency, how to talk to nature. You have to sit with nature for days.
He is an established teacher by the time I met him already. You see, so when I met, I hope I expanded his knowledge. I said, listen, this is too little here. Let's go into this and into that and into that, into this. And so you expand and experience, and this is where surrendering comes. He never said, sorry, I don't do witchcraft, I don't do Wicca, I don't do plant this or that, because I'm just a shaman. He opened up and said, let's see how it will, because either it will merge if it's true, or if it will not merge. If it's true spiritual energy, it will always merge with you. If it's a scam and if it's a fake, it cannot merge. And this is how you identify true spiritual information. It will move you, it will touch you. That is the idea. 2 things in spirituality. You tell a story, and hopefully the story moves you. If there's no emotional movement, it's just mental. Yeah. That is why I call it psychology, you see?
Yeah.
That is the analysis of mind. But when something moves you in spirituality, it naturally realigns you, connects you. This is the idea. And when somebody does it, you know, devotes himself and surrenders to the devotion. You know, I like the word devotion more than the word discipline. It sounds like working.
Yeah.
It's really a question of devotion.
Yes.
It's a sacred act to be spiritual, or to do something in the sense of you know, do I better the world in some way or shape? You know, am I contributing? That's surrendering to the discipline, surrendering to the devotion. It's like, I can't describe it. It's its own unit. You know what I mean? You can't also get out of it.
No.
Yeah.
Never. All your life.
I don't know how this started, I tell you, because I was in music and I was meant to be a pop star and to be a producer, and you know, I was meant to be in art and fashion and so on.
All of us. Yeah.
And I don't even know how this happened. I just remember giving a friend a tarot reading.
But is it possible that you were supposed to learn music and all that stuff because you were going to incorporate that to that new way of being?
In my case, yes. In my case, yes. You see, that's why artists and spirit is very connected.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I don't call, you see, people think an artist is a medium, is a channel. To some degree, of course, because art is not the painting, it's not the object itself. Excuse, that's technique, that's the craft. The real art is to close your eyes and to connect with the vision. So we are, and people are surprised when I tell them, we are either, all of us, we are all channels, we are all mediums, some active, some not active. Now the football player who, you know, we wouldn't call a football player a medium or a surgeon or an actor, right? But the moment you try to find a solution for a situation, you are channeling. Every attempt to find a better outcome, a harmonious outcome, is spiritual and is channeling. Some understand the source, some don't, but the process is the same. You see how the surgeon cuts into a body. Now he says, oh, it's a routine, I've done it 1,000 times. But then something happens and he has to rethink. We always say, what should I do? We always turn up our eyes, go into alpha and theta waves, we would say, to receive some form of inspiration. We all do it. This is a planet of mediumship. Humanity is in its core a channel society.
Do you think all souls that are on Earth then chose this one to incarnate now because of that then?
That's exactly what it is.
It's a transformational planet.
Absolutely.
So mediumship is part of transformation.
Absolutely.
Well, you don't want to just stay in yourself. You want to listen to the universe, don't you?
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
And devote yourself to this idea. Again, you give up your will. And I made my deal with my divine providence, not whatever I call it. And I said, if you want me to do this, and if you think that I have the capacity to help somebody, then bring me the people. Then bring me the people. I work every day for the last 30 plus years. I never advertise. I never do things, except now with the, you know, the Facebook thing where I say, guys, if you're interested, that's what I'm doing. But I keep it limited. You see, I'm coming from a tradition of direct students-teacher relation, you know. Maybe that will change in a couple of years. When he started,
gigantic.
He was gigantic.
It was too much.
But also
20,000 students.
Also Foster.
You have to understand 3 different centers around the world.
You see, Foster came out when there was a real resurgence of spirit. The 80s, 90s. Mediums, channels, suddenly everybody had contact with some galaxy. Everybody had some, you know, there was a huge desire for the balance of all that money stuff.
Yeah.
That is the idea, you see. And
I had many friends who were mediums, who were great mediums.
Of course, he started massive, you see. But
there's like a bunch of books from the era, like the Seth materials and,
yes.
and all those. Yeah, those are amazing. I love those books.
And many people from those books, different books, came to me and said, I would like to have a session with you. So that's how I began working was giving sessions to mediums.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's like you always want your own reading, right? Yeah.
And I didn't have to advertise. It became hundreds of people overnight with healings, when people started to have real healings. Right. You know, when I had a lot of mojo and a lot of electricity going through my body, everybody was getting repaired very quickly.
Wow.
So it was exciting, you know, but you give it all away. I gave so much away, even though it comes through you, you give a lot of yourself to it. Yeah. And now at 60, you know, it's been a long journey, thousands of healings, you know, hundreds of thousands of people you've touched. And now it goes into a different, you have to explain what's really going on more like an elder. You understand? And what are the different stages? And you have to kind of outline them now for people.
So do you feel like you're rebooting also, just like the planet?
Oh, yes. I feel it. It's a rebooting where you know what's coming next, what books are coming next, but you can't quite write them yet. They're coming through you. They're coming in dreams. You have to take snippets of it. And then finally, it will come like a river when it's the right time, which is soon.
You know, I want to tell this to the people who listen to your podcast, and keep this in mind. That's the most important thing I learned is everything that is hard, difficult, that requires effort is not natural. That's not how nature works. If it's easy, effortless, and it comes with almost no real struggle, it's natural. I really, really believe that. You know, we are so brainwashed in believing you have to work really, really hard and really, really lot and to really, really get there. And I just don't think that this is a natural state. Nature, that applies maybe to people who are in a career that requires them, like Madonna, for example, or Michael Jackson. You know, that is of course something where they have to work on their craft. It depends on what field. But now let's stay with us. Spirit, energy, healing, well-being, you know, consciousness, experience. You know, if it's effortless, it's natural. No tree says, God, today will be a hard day to grow.
No.
Or the flower says, damn, I'm still fat. You know, and that flower over there looks better. You know? It just doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. So if it's easy and effortless and it feels like I almost haven't done anything, you are in a natural alignment. Just trust the flow. The moment you say, I made it to the river, I'm in the boat, it's really fast, and now I'm going to make it faster because, you know, I need to control the river, you're going to crash and drown. That's what it is.
You know, very practically, I like when people take baths because there's so much radiation in the world, you know, with all the different towers that are going on in cell phone towers and 5G. To get rid of radiation, always take a baking soda bath. You take 2 pounds of baking soda, any baking soda, fill it in a bath, water as hot as you can take it, stay in 20-25 minutes, and then watch the negativity leave, all the radiation come out of your body, because as the water cools, it leaves your body. So that's a practical thing to do. Or acid alkaline balance would be a bath where you take a bottle of apple cider vinegar and you put it in, and you just stay there again 25 minutes and let it go through you, you know, hot to cold. So cold releases, hot brings all these toxins up. Then, you know, you also want to ingest it. I ingest apple cider vinegar. You can take it as a tablet now to make yourself more alkaline. I especially love coconut oil. You take, you know, a teaspoon of coconut oil. Sometimes I do it in the morning and at night now. You know, you can do MCT oil, and that will start to alkalize your body.
You know, what
slightly alkaline.
What Posse refers to is, from a chemical point, your body needs to be in a certain chemical environment to be to get invaded by a virus or a bacteria. There is just no other way. One is that you're super acidic. That means when you are in a 6.5 pH level, viruses, bacteria, inflammers will avoid you like the pestilence because they cannot survive in this environment. The same with oxygenation. When you are oxygenated, it's proven in biology, a virus cannot survive in oxygen. It needs a oxygen-deprived environment to flourish. So
with the shamans, we had to do tumo breathing all the time. You have to heat up your body.
Right.
You have to do kundalini breathing.
You alkalize your blood.
Yes.
That's the idea. So, in Scandinavia, they all go from the hot sauna to the ice cold river and jump in. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Very simple.
You did very hot sweat lodges, and then
very cold.
You jump
And
in.
they do seem to have many less cases of corona than the other countries. That's probably why then, right?
Yes.
Because their immune system is already trained to withstand certain elements, so to speak,
And
because they use the elements to alkalize
Yes.
the bloodstream.
And we're always cleaning the energy of our house.
Yeah.
Either you put onions around the house, you cut them in half and open them, like in the kitchen, because it absorbs negativity. Same thing with garlic. Or I like to put eggs in all the corners of the house because I'm going to be home. That's lots of eggs. You don't do anything, just buy the egg and put it in the corner. And then after 7 days, you take all the eggs in a bag, and then you throw it at a crossroad because it's all the negativity that's in your house. And you have to do that when you're home. I like to take 7 candles. We get, big candles, 7 of them, on a tray. And then we go into each room with the 7 candles, 15 minutes in each room. Okay. We do a prayer over the candles to purify, to cleanse the house. And every single room, 15 minutes, including bathrooms. And then when you finish, you let all those candles burn down to the end.
You bring it to the center of the house, which usually is a living room or something, and leave them there and let them burn down. Please don't burn down your house. All precautions. I know people, but
and then when they're finished, you have to close them up and bury them on your property.
Yeah.
Either in a flower pot, if you're in an apartment, somewhere. And this is the blessing. You're calling blessings into your house.
Right.
Was this like once like a week or something like that?
You can do this, oh my God, once every couple of years.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is the good time.
It's quite a powerful process, But again, let me remind you a bit. What, of course, creates 6.5 pH level immediately is mother's milk. Guess why babies need it and should be breastfed, or why colostrum. Like I didn't get breastfed because my mother got me very late and I didn't get it. And Foster told me years later when I met him that you can supplement for a year with colostrum to kind of rebuild that connection to the mother, so to speak, because if you didn't get the breast, there's a disconnect to the mother. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And mother's milk is 6.5 pH. The other thing is, of course, again, unpasteurized cow's milk. You can't get anything not pasteurized these days.
Do they even sell that though? Yeah, they don't sell it, do they?
You have to find specific farms who
do it still.
But again, the cow has to be healthy.
Yeah.
Which is another story again. If the cow is full of, then forget it. But coconut oil or coconut milk does exactly this in the body. It produces immediately here the 6.5 frequency, so to speak. Or
I've been doing with coconut oil. Is what's called the teeth. Yeah, the oil pulling. Yeah.
Yeah. Oil
I've been
pulling,
doing that.
Drinking it. Coconut milk, by the way, because it's fat enough. If you do, in Ayurveda, they do something called golden milk.
Yeah, with
turmeric and ginger and all that stuff. And, if you mix it with coconut milk and drink it, and of course, lots of greens, that's important. Keep the body hydrated. What an illness does is always it dries the body. So hydration is important. Lots of greens, no sugars. I would, of course, avoid at this point too much animal product, everything that creates mucus like cheese, and, I would avoid all that. And let your body recover. The moment you're in the 6.5-ish pH level, it's almost impossible to get sick.
Is there a way to know where your pH is at?
I
Is
was
there like
thinking that.
way to test it?
You have these little pH strips. You can buy them at pharmacies, and you pee on them. Then the color change tells you how alkaline or
Ah.
acidic
When you're
It's like
truly
a pool.
yeah, when you're shamanic,
Yeah, you're right.
when you're shamanic and you're very depleted, right, and you can't quite come back to life, we always feed you goats, anything from goats, goat milk, goat meat. I mean, because now we're at an extreme point where somebody's really about to, have no energy whatsoever. Goats have a way, like Pan, to bring you back to life.
Yeah.
And it's one of the go-to remedies that we do.
Yeah.
Salt. I love to put salt in water. So I bless the water. I'll go with salt in the 4 directions, maybe above and below and within, but we go through salt, blessing the water. Everything, that is filled with salt turns into salt. It's purification. So we do half sea salt, half baking soda. Will also get rid of all radiation. If you do double, 2 pounds of baking soda only, you're getting rid of more of the microwaves and radiation from airplanes. Every time you travel, you can get quite radiated. Certain areas that you visit are very radiated.
Yeah.
So remember all those things. There's lots of ways to purify.
But I mean,
now.
the idea is
Amazing.
that just keep your body as plant-based as possible, and you should be okay.
I've been doing like fasting for like, I don't know, maybe a month now. And I fast around 18 to 20 hours. And the only thing I consume is a lot of water. I drink mate, but then I have in between half a teaspoon of baking soda with water and at
Good.
another point in the day, apple cider vinegar.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
So you're doing it. You see,
You're doing
your
it.
guides help you.
Yeah.
They tell you these things.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to clear the throat and this respiratory system.
Right.
You understand? They're trying to help the lungs, especially here.
Yeah.
Your throat. Everybody is going through something. here.
Everybody.
There's something
It's
in the
amazing,
air.
yeah.
You constantly have to purify for this.
Yeah.
Do that. I like smoking. I like sage, rosemary
Sure.
around the house. I like to pick it and then start burning it around the house.
I think
Clean your house.
I think people will have a very new idea of cleanliness.
Mm-hmm.
I see already a big run on sage, because that's, just 100 years ago, that's all we had, by the way. It was sage and incense. And,
Yep.
of course, en masse to purify the space in the room.
And it's not like how I look outside, it's how I feel inside.
Inside.
If I feel the light
How I
inside
feel
of me.
we had a
cleansing.
couple,
I like to do all the chakras in the morning
we had a couple,
with the colors.
we
I
had a-
love to, put it into a vacuum cleaner and then, take the
Oh.
vacuum, transmute all negative energy
Yeah.
into positive energy and then recycle the energy.
you know,
I always feel better. I get over illness in two minutes if I do the chakras.
we had a couple of questions, of course, that I sent you guys from my
Yes.
so to speak. And I had this girl who said, I'm so desperate because I have no job, I have no this, I have no that, what can I do? Again, the first thing I would say is what you're experiencing now was there all along. Now it's just
Mhm.
magnified.
Yep.
Because, I hate my job, but, I need it. And so it gives me security, but it's a crammy little place. But I go anyway. And suddenly when you don't have that excuse, what am I doing? Now there is no reason, to justify why I have to go in. Now I come to terms with what I really feel. And what I really feel is I really hate the job, or I'm not happy, or I think I'm really,
Want to
not
go back
lost,
to my
but,
roots.
go back to my root. So again, it gives you an opportunity to understand it's not the situation that is the problem. It's what you brought to the situation. You were just not aware, but now you are.
Yeah.
Because now you have to be at home and shut up and have the mask and the gloves. And now you are confronted to look inside. I'm telling you, after this, the divorce rate will be much, much higher. Like we know, for example, that the domestic violence rate is quite high.
Yeah, I've heard that as well.
That's exactly what's coming out, that, the police is called to much more relationships and so on and so on. And that is the idea. If I'm honest, it doesn't make me happy. If I'm honest, it never made me happy. If I'm honest, that always depleted me. If I'm honest, that made me sick. If I'm honest, and that is a moment of honesty. You see,
Yeah.
and I think that acknowledging this and say, you know what, I thought this is my security, my happy, but I'm not happy, I'm not secure. To come to terms and to peace with that acknowledgement. Then you say, God, Goddess, universe, whatever you want to call it, I'm open. I'm open. Show me direction. And I guarantee you, again, it's not immediately 5 minutes later. This is not a McDonald's up there. But, you know, something will come, something will show up, something will visit you.
And you have to take it.
And you have to take it.
Right away.
Surrender, like you said.
Surrender, exactly. And surrender. And that is basically, you know, what our core is made of, is to really understand that, you know, somebody asked, how do guides communicate with us? Mm-hmm. Well, guides use, in my case, a guide uses my voice. My guide sounds like me, but much, much smarter and much more interested in the person who asked than me. Because I could give not a, you know, I could not care less, because usually I think people are just dumb and also indulgent in their stupidity. And I'm like, you know, common sense. If you're not happy, just move on. But now they need to talk about it. But guidance comes from such an interested place to, you know, to transform. So the way guides communicate to us is through emotions. When we feel really solid and devoted to something, no matter what the world says, you should all be afraid of viruses. No, I'm really happy right now. Things are going well. You know, that is guidance. It says, just pay attention to how you feel. That's enough. And when we get that answer and we do the opposite anyway, because, you know, yeah, it's shitty, isn't it? And then we complain to our guides that they didn't warn us enough. And guides say, listen, I gave you the idea. Please don't do it. And you go anyway. You know, my husband's beating me. Should I go back? Well, if you're an idiot, yes, of course you're going. Because a normal person would never say, yeah, that beating wasn't that bad. Or,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Or should I eat that, you know, that McDonald's is not that bad. I mean, people buy it and eat it and, you know, can't be that bad. But tomorrow I start to get healthier. And expect, you know, I ate a salad and I'm still fat and still ugly and still don't work. I go back to McDonald's. You're an idiot.
That's not being true to ourselves.
You're an idiot. You have to understand, girls, there is a society out there who is dumb. Dumb in logic. Get a grip on yourself. You see? And that is the people, you know, who deserve the corona, because, you know, that shakes them up and said, look at what you're doing. Look at
yourself.
Absolutely. But at the end of the day, when, you know, when the stupid questions are done and guidance says, have you learned your lesson finally? That is when guidance is really interested in maintaining a balanced emotion, not about being, you know, fake positive or only negative or only, you know, judgmental, but really to be in a place beyond that.
Yeah.
You know, I say in Hermetics, as above, so below, and beyond. You know, and beyond. And this is where what I'm interested in. What is the beyond? The beyond is, I've done the good, I've done the bad, and now there has to come something with reason, something that makes sense in my life, something that feels right. You see? And when it feels right, no matter what people say, you know, I got all this.
That's dark.
That's dark.
Underworld.
No, but if you believe it.
I found this on the web for.
That's dark.
Siri.
Maybe it's your guide communicating with you.
There you go. Oh, we had the most funniest situations already with electronics, you know.
Yeah.
Started playing suddenly.
They play love songs to us. The spirits.
Oh.
Yeah.
Especially, I was also invoking a spirit that is the spirit of love, but you know, other spirits too, like the plant spirits. All of a sudden, they start playing music through.
You know, our HomePod started playing
And then even rituals, they play old rituals that they have on the home
Right.
pots.
You know,
I remember that Mom went to do like a course with you guys there in California, and she came back, and after that she had the habit of, if she was picking a herb or something, she would ask Mother Nature if she could take it, if it was okay before taking it, and she still does that, and she taught it to us too.
Oh, wonderful.
the most
She gave an offering.
yeah, the
Mhm.
most important thing in spirituality is no matter what you do, what you believe, and no, as long you feel the result is healing, is wellness creating, is non-judgmental, because that's what happens a lot. People finally get to a point of healing, and then they judge everybody who doesn't do it their way.
Or that's as
I've
far
seen
as
it,
they can
yeah.
go. You have to have
Right.
compassion with people, because that's as
Right.
far as they can go. You will hit a wall eventually.
Yeah.
Like, that's enough for me.
Yeah.
Don't give me more.
Yeah.
You know, when
You
I'm in
know,
the middle of a healing,
Mhm.
that great moment, you know, when there's no time anymore and there's a lot of guides around, and sometimes your ancestors come. Sometimes my mother comes now and she says, you know, I'm learning through you. I love this. This is great.
Mhm.
You know, you have your ancestors, you have all these people, you're doing a healing, and it's coming through you. There's no time, and you know the person is feeling it. And then knowledge is just pouring through. Knowledge that has been, you know, for eons of your lives and others. And when it's finished, they say, that's the healing. That's enough.
Mhm.
No more than this now.
Mhm.
You don't have to overdo it or anything. That's as much as they can take now.
Mhm.
Now we're finished. And they depart.
Yeah.
Some stay, but some of them depart.
Mhm.
And you say to the person, it is done. You know, for now, it's done. Now you go home. They never want to go home, but you know how it is.
Yeah.
That's energy forever. But it's for them now to recreate it and maintain it.
But the idea is, just to bring it to a point for me, is why we are so trained not to do what feels good to us.
Mm.
You see, that doesn't feel right to me. Then why are you doing it? Well, you know, habit.
You got to do what you got to do.
You got to do exactly. And this is exactly that point where, why am I willing to compromise from relationships to expectation to value? For what? Why should I do it? You see what I mean? Is it natural? Does it provide me? Nature, something that is spiritually natural, will always give value to something. It's just what it is. It will always provide you with value. This is how you know, and that's why I'm so careful in judging people, what they do and how they do it. Because if it has a good effect on people, what do I care? You see? But when it comes to depleting people, you know, you need one more thing and one more thing, and you need to pay this and you need to pay that, you need to go there. You see, there's a depletion in here. And that doesn't feel right. And people say, well, you know, you do it. Get a grip. Why you're accepting something as normal if it doesn't make you happy, feeling loved, feeling valued, feeling, you know, and doesn't inspire you to do the same to your partner.
Yeah.
No, because that is, I think, the ultimate spiritual experience and fulfillment. I feel great, but you know what? I also offer you the greatness. I choose to see what's good in you, what's great in you, what, you know, I wish you the same experience, even if that means you can't have the experience with me.
Yeah.
See? We're back to unconditional love. What means unconditional love? I love you no matter what the condition is.
Yeah.
Love that.
It's a divine thing. We're not on the level yet.
With couples, you always have to go through many of their old games, you know, all the time. They'll come up constantly, like you're a fuck up, you're doing it wrong, you make a mess and I have to clean it up. That's one we went through yesterday. And you just observe the pattern and you say, okay, I don't want to feed this pattern anymore. It's right in my face. I don't want to feed this. I'm going to concentrate on something else that makes me feel good.
Yeah.
And I do
And
that.
like leave them in their thing, kind of.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's a choice. You see, it's a choice.
And
It's
you're
a
always
choice,
not everybody's going to receive the teaching. Certainly not your partner.
I mean, especially now because people are stuck at home in their relationships.
Yes,
you know,
yes.
there's
Not
no
easy.
escaping. There's
Like
no
an island.
escaping.
You talked about an island which is covered by water, which is all mirrors.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're in the Hawaiian Islands, you always have to look at yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You're constantly surrounded by mirrors.
Right.
Any island.
I feel like that's happened to me. That's been my journey the last few years. having to look at myself a lot.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my goodness. And to identify it and be very quite acute about how you analyze it and everything, and don't get lost in it. You understand? Don't put yourself down for it. This is when you start to open your heart and realize, I have choice here. I don't have to recreate my mother's depression. I don't have to create my father's arrogance. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to create their failures or their successes either. And that's the individualism, but it's not really individualism. Is how are we best of service?
Right.
Through the refinement of ourselves, through our realizations. How does this translate into our work?
Yeah, I love this.
To help this world?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, guys. Thank you so
And
much.
like usual, yeah, we would talk like 5 more hours with you guys. But Lorena has to get back to work, and I have to put my baby to sleep.
Babies have priority.
Thank you. Seriously, guys, like this means so much to us for you guys coming on here and talking and like speaking to our audience. I think it's important. And a lot of them, thanks to you guys, came and followed us and listened to you guys, and they were so thankful. So we really appreciate it.
We're all family, aren't we?
Yes. Yes, we are.
we love like what you guys represent, and we love the things you guys say. And you know, like you had said before, some people do things for like money, or they do things because they get cocky, but you can see that how you guys do it from the heart, and you really want to help, and that's why we love talking to you.
At the end of the day, I don't even judge people who want to make money or want to be. That's totally fine.
Yeah.
At the end, you have to like what you see in the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to be in peace with what you see in the mirror, because what you see and what you self-reflect, that is what you will take to every dimension, every incarnation. That is the reflection. And you want to say, I'm in peace with it. I'm okay with it.
And we were all created from the original mothers. Everybody came from the same original group, all humanity. So we're all brothers and sisters in the end.
There you go.
And that's the final realization.
Right.
I love it. Oh, you guys. Thank you so much. I
Thank
really
you
appreciate
guys for having us.
Have a
Thank you.
Thanks. Talk to you soon, okay?
Absolutely.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning into this episode. We really appreciate you downloading and subscribing to our podcast. And we want to give a big shout out and thanks to Christos and Foster for coming on again for the second time onto our podcast. We love chatting with them, and we really got so much good info and so much interesting kind of feedback on ways that we can also take care of ourselves and how we can look at the situation we're all going through in a different way. And that this is a time to change. This is a time for us to look at ourselves, figure out what we need to change, what we need to do differently, and how we can help each other and the world and planet Earth. So make sure to share this episode with anybody that you think might benefit from this information. We have also put this episode up on YouTube, so be sure to check it out there, and you can see us chatting with them and see their amazing energy and faces during the interview. And yeah, we really appreciate all of you. Thanks again for tuning in. We hope you have a great week, and we'll see you on the next episode. Bye, guys.